Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be covering from the Tech Mahindra Global Chess League, and I'm very happy that this is the first one we're covering because it's really just beautiful. It will make your day. And before we check it out, I would just like to mention that in this particular competition, a win with the black pieces is awarded more points than a win with the white piece. A win with black will yield you 4 points, and a win with white will yield only 3 points. So, you know, if it's a tie or if you're losing, you can still swindle, things in your favor, not just to draw the match, but also to win it if you win with the black pieces. So I guess it should make the games more interesting, as you kind of have maybe the urge or the sort of even the maybe an obligation to play for a win with black if you consider yourselves to be the stronger player. So yeah, maybe that's also one of the reasons why this game is so exciting. But yeah, let's check it out. It's Jan-Krzysztof Duda versus Vidit Gujrathi. Let's check it out. Duda with white opens with pawn to e4. And also, you can't just have any 6 players on your team. 2 of the players have to be women, and 1 of the players has to be 21 years of age or younger. So let's check it out. e4, e5, we have knight to f3, knight to c6, and knight to c3. We have the good old 4 knights game. Bishop to b5 attacking the knight, and now knight to d4, the Rubinstein counter-gambit, which it seems like you're blundering the e5 pawn, but if you capture the e5 pawn, of course, you know what happens. Knight, queen to e7 attacks the knight, then the pawn will be very weak. And if, let's say, pawn to f4, knight captures on b5, knight captures on b5, d6, knight to f3, and queen captures on e4, you win back your pawn, and you're going to enjoy a very, very good game. Even a better one. So after knight d4, we simply have castles. Even though the top move in the position is just to move the bishop because, well, it's an open game. You don't want to give up the bishop pair so early, but Duda just castles. And Vidit doesn't want to capture the bishop. He chases it away. Pawn to c6, bishop to d3, and now knight captures on f3. We have queen captures and pawn to d6, bishop back to e2, so you can play d3. And interestingly, Vidit already had this position in 2019 in the Grand Swiss. He had it against Rauf Mamedov, and their game ended in a draw. Whether or not Duda knows this, I have no idea, but they are both playing really fast, so could be that he does know it. But in that game, Vidit continued with bishop to g4. However, here he plays pawn to h5, and it is now as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. Now, okay, the engine considers it an inaccuracy, as there are sort of better moves for black, but still, you know, it's perfectly playable, and if it comes as a surprise, could be all that more poisonous. So let's see. Pawn to d3, we have pawn to g6, bishop to g5, and bishop to e7. Okay, perfectly normal moves. Rook a to d1 and bishop to g4, attacking the queen. We have queen to e3, and now knight to d5. Looks like you're sacrificing a piece, but not really, as now your bishop is attacked twice. But this is I believe here Vidit is trying to employ one of the nastiest traps ever seen, because it seems like you can almost get away with it, but not really. I'm going to show you what I mean by this. If you play bishop captures on e7, okay, it seems like shouldn't be possible because you're also gonna capture one of the rooks. But let's inspect it closer. Knight captures on e3, bishop captures on d8, knight captures on d1, bishop captures on g4, knight captures on c3, and now bishop to f6, attacking the rook on h8. And now after h captures on g4, because it's much better than just moving the bishop, h captures on g4, bishop captures on h8, knight to e2 with check, so you save your own knight while you will trap the bishop here. That's the problem. And now after, let's say, king to h1, king e7, stopping bishop to f6, bishop to g7, hoping to escape, but now rook to g8, bishop to h6, again hoping to escape, and now pawn to g5 traps the bishop. So that's why it's so tricky. Let's say rook e1, you're going to move the knight. Let's say c3, you move the knight further back, and now, okay, whatever you play, just rook g6, and the bishop is gone. But Duda just plays e captures on d5, bishop captures on g5, attacking the queen, and pawn to f4. We have bishop to h6, Vidit keeps the tension, d captures on c6, and now b captures on c6. And now pawn to d4, just going after Vidit's king, as it's still in the center of the board. We have queen to b6, saying, okay, I don't like being attacked, let's just trade queens here, and knight to a4, not allowing the queen to remain on this diagonal. Queen to a5, attacking the knight, and now, while you could play some defensive moves like knight back to c3 or bishop captures on g4, Duda goes for the for the prize or the brilliancy prize if there was one. D captures on e5. He sacrifices the knight on a4, and okay, you can see that there will be some counterplay, but is it really there? Is it real? Okay, queen captures on a4. We have bishop captures on g4, and now h captures on g4. And now look at this. E captures on d6. With the idea of queen to e7 check, and there really isn't a way for you to stop this. So king to f8, getting out of the way, queen to e7 with check, and now king to g7. And now queen to e5 check, and the question is, what should Vidit play here? Vidit should play, what do you think Vidit should play here? If you were playing black, what do you play here? What does your instinct tell you to play? Of course, king h7. You're not gonna, disconnect your rooks. Of course, you're not going to do that. But it's still very, very difficult to calculate why. Vidit went the other way, because now pawn to f5, you have queen captures on c2. You have the g6 square defended. And after f captures with check, queen captures, and let's say you play something like queen e7, threaten rook captures on f7, there's bishop g5. And there's no continuation for white. The seemingly winning rook captures on f7 is met with king to g8, and now your rook is hanging and your queen is hanging, and white can just resign here. Looks great. You have a pass pawn on d6, rook supporting the pass pawn, queen and rook on the 7th, but yet you're dead lost. So yeah, sometimes chess is funny like that. But Vidit played king to g8. He disconnected his rooks, and now it's a completely different story. Now Duda plays pawn to d7. And okay, it's probably the first move you think of, and it looks really awesome. You're going to play queen to e8 check, but is there still something there? Rook to d8, and now the move you have to find. Now, the reason why you can't go queen to e8 check just yet, and probably what Vidit was hoping would happen, king g7 and queen to e5 check, you move the king to h7, and now after you strike with pawn to f5, you still have this queen captures on c2 move with a similar defensive setup that we already discussed. Queen captures on g6, and if rook to d6, attacking the queen, queen g7, and the attack is over. There's no way to make progress here. Yes, rook d to f6 makes it uncomfortable, but rook h to f8, and it's perfectly fine. However, after rook to d8, pawn to f5 by Duda, and now there is no such thing as queen captures on c2, because now if you play it, look at this. Queen to e7, threatening queen captures on d8 with check. And now if you move the king, now there's pawn to f6 check. That's why playing f5 right away was key. King to h7, queen captures, and of course it will be a very nice checkmate. So after f5, Vidit has to defend somehow. He plays pawn to g5, but now comes rook to d6. Now there are many winning moves for white, but Duda finds the most beautiful one. We have queen to b4, a very tricky defensive setup for Vidit. He's hoping to play bishop to f8, but now queen to e8 check and bishop to f8. And okay, how do you defend this? Now, of course, if you capture, then queen captures on d6, and you're sort of still in the game. You're still lost objectively, but you can fight. However, Duda goes for the brilliancy. Rook to g6 with check. And now, how do you continue? If you just move the king, it's a pretty simple checkmate. Just queen captures, bishop blocks, and queen captures with checkmate. So f captures on g6 was played, and now finish the masterpiece. What do you play here? Certainly not queen captures on g6. I hope none of you were looking at that, because if you capture it, then bishop g7, and you have no continuation. If queen e8 check, even queen to f8, and that's pretty much it. So after the f captures on g6, the only winning move, it's a mate in two, but it's the only winning one, is queen to e6 with check. It's something you have to get used to when you're fighting against the dark square bishop and you're trying to operate on the light squares. Avoid the dark squares. That's pretty much it. Capturing, it still happens on a light square, but you allow the bishop to block via a dark square. Here, the bishop cannot block, and it doesn't matter what you play. Now, you could move the king to g6, g7, then queen captures on g6 is checkmate. However, Vidit played queen to h7, and now queen captures on g6 is checkmate. So, beautiful, beautiful game by Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Taking down such an impressive player like Vidit Gujrathi. Now, maybe it's the reason that 4 points are awarded for a win with black. Maybe that's why we'll be seeing more interesting games in this event. Or maybe, Vidit also felt inspired and he went for the win. But either way, beautiful, beautiful knight sacrifice by Duda in the style of the great Bobby Fischer. He also used to sacrifice knights on the rims, and he achieved excellent victories. So yeah, beautifully done by Duda. And also something I would like to address that a lot of you have been saying in the previous videos, why am I no longer awarding the Morphy head? Now, well, this is a brilliant game. It's not really Paul Morphy brilliant game. I don't know when was the last time you've seen my Morphy saga or just looked at a Paul Morphy game, but Paul Morphy's games, withstood the test of time for some 150 years, 140 years. And those games are, I mean, they are out of this world. While modern games are impressive, these old masters, they played without engines, they played without preparation, Morphy in particular. And what they've created to last for over a century. I mean, and we still marvel at it today. Nowadays, games, played online, even maybe longer time formats, they will not be remembered in a week, maybe especially not in a year or in a decade. So that's why I have to be very, very careful when awarding the Morphy head. Sometimes I award the brilliancy sign, the one I'm talking about, this one, because it's flashy and you guys get flooded with some very positive neurotransmitters and you feel very happy. But I don't like to do it too often. That just I wanted to mention that. So well, I'm not completely against awarding the Morphy head. I will wait for that special game to award it, like, I don't know, Dubov's Queen Sacrifice against Sergei Karyakin. Like that game, a game like that will be awarded a Morphy head, and it should be a classical game. Like, we're not going to award Morphy heads for a bullet game, even though I might have done it once or twice. It was probably a game that really, really inspired me, and I was like, wow. So that's why I'm not awarding it too often. We shouldn't just throw brilliancy signs at everything. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it and that you appreciate this little explanation of mine. I would like to thank happy anniversary Sarah, Love Sean, Miguel Faber, Marty Vidal, A Friendly Weasel, and Bubbles McGee for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.